Hi everyone, we are G7. I'm Jennifer Fan and my colleagues on this project are Justin Ho and John Howerton. Our company strives to increase financial literacy. The moments of struggle we identified are trust, understanding, time, and cost. Can you trust the people in charge of your money? This requires time customers don't have. Do you know where to put your money? 49% of Americans don't feel confident making investment decisions. When making big financial purchases, such as a car or home, it is common to underestimate the financial impacts of those decisions. Time. Using current resources, the learning curve to creating financial competency is steep. This means that people with multiple jobs, kids, or dependents are often left at a disadvantage in financial management. Cost. Current financial services are expensive. 55% of Americans that don't invest say it's because they do not have enough money. Our team performed a value target analysis which identified customer value metrics, importance, and satisfaction, rating them low to high. We then grouped the values into buckets of undershot, must be, indifferent, and overshot. Some key undershot values include agents' knowledge, cost of service, and amount of options. Must-be targets include customer service, quality, and customers' ability to make financial decisions. Indifferent values include taking customer feedback and using it directly to improve the future of customers' experiences. A few overshot values are to increase our reach and improve our service. We then determined our demand creation strategy. We started by outlining our market entry and trajectory of innovation strategies. Our segment of opportunity is providing a financial service to lower income clients that was previously reserved for middle to upper class clientele. Our market entry strategy is low barrier to entry because we are not seeking to maximize profit and will work with nonprofits such as the National Financial Educators Council, also known as the NFC. We'll identify and engage with early adopters by leveraging trust earned by the NFC. Our target base are people who are interested in becoming financially literate but are unable to do so to the high barrier to entry. We will lower the barrier to entry as a disruptive innovation, targeting the segment of population who has been left behind with financial advice. Further refining our strategy, we determined our resource leverage strategy. To list a few goals, we wanted to focus on how to contact our service providers, ensure customer needs are assessed, match service options to customer needs, and to confirm and pay for service. We would leverage our partners to increase utility, value, and customer reach. We would then leverage the knowledge of the customers and teachers we hire. Other goals are to require feedback, measure success, improve services, and re-administer services. Again, we would leverage our partners, customers, and community. Our segments of opportunity are all based on one idea: to provide a means of financial well-being to those that are in need of it the most. Because of this central focus, our decisions are all geared toward making a service that is generally reserved for middle to upper class clientele. Because the traditional service is so distant from our target customer base, we focus on closely creating opportunities in the segments that mean the most to the target customers. These opportunities are cost, option placement, and maximizing actionable education opportunities. The next best solution to our financial education opportunity is traditional financial coaching. Traditional coaching requires a lot of time, resources, and prior knowledge that keeps our target base underserved. The benchmarks that we can compare are our best method to our time, cost, and application. The expectation of the traditional financial coaching is several weeks or months of face-to-face meetings to build the expertise required to secure a financially sound future, averaging around 40 to 80 hours, which could be done in less than 10 hours of well-structured, guided online courses. The typical cost for financial training is a non-starter for the customers that need it most. A traditional service is in the 100+ range for customers. We think it should be a free service with premium options for those that have gotten to a healthy place financially. Lastly, it is the time commitment that should be less than 10 minutes to acquire enough financial knowledge to make a sound decision. These three benchmarks of the next best solution will give us the target for our solution and measured outcomes. Our market entry strategy uses existing financial education players, targets community networks, and provides flexibility for our customers. Because the barrier to entry is relatively low, we do not seek to maximize profit from our delivery of services. By working with the NFC, this will engage early adopters by leveraging the trusted earn of existing members of the NXC. Since the NFC is an IRS-recognized public benefits organization, we have the opportunity to target community networks with public branches such as the community centers, libraries, and the Department of Social and Health Services and the local housing authorities. This will help us to further segment our target market into educating low-income individuals. We will identify early adopters by engaging local community channels that will allow us to find interested individuals who are motivated to improve their financial status. We then built our solution prototype by first creating VP canvases for all of our undershot, must be, indifferent, and overshot values. Here is a screenshot on the left of our mock prototype. At the very top is page 1, which will be our landing page. Page 2 is a prototype of our service options, and page 3 outlines our missions and values.
For testing differential value of our solution, we broke it down to 5 main attributes. The first being agent knowledge, followed by service options, flexible cost options, agent availability, and price. We conducted a choice-based conjoint survey to evaluate these attributes. Looking at the differential value, the 2 things we looked at are utility value and switching dynamics. The question for utility value is, does your solution as a whole have more utility than the next best solution? In this case, yes, our product does offer more utility than the next best solution. The top attribute of importance in this finding was price, with a 9.22 preference over the other attributes. The next question is, are customers willing to pay more for the value that G7 brings? In this survey, 2/3 of the participants valued our solution over the current offering. Based on the strong responses in the survey, the customers preferring our solution 2-to-1 over the current offering likely means that our solution has enough driving force to push customers to make the switch to our product. Using a market simulator to analyze our results, we compared our service option, Service 1, to what is currently available on the market, Service 2. Part of our service breakdown starts with agent knowledge, which is a network of moderately trained agents offering tailored solutions in a 3-tiered pricing option with flexible price solutions. This is considered a business-to-consumer offering, and we priced at $300. Service 2 is what's currently available on the market. When we looked at this one, it is top-of-the-field experts offering static solutions to a number of customers. This is at a single price point and is considered consumer to business at the $400 price. Looking at the survey attribute results, participants placed the highest value of importance around cost. These are price and the flexible cost options that showed in our favor. One that did not show in our favor was agent knowledge, where we plan to pivot to top-of-the-field experts offering static solutions to a number of customers from a network of moderately trained agents offering tailored solutions. Lastly, participants are aligned with us in all other attributes, and we will only pivot that one attribute of agent knowledge. Next, looking through the survey attribute results, you can see that price was by far the most important, followed by flexible cost options, agent knowledge, agent availability, and lastly, service options. Now let's look at the revenue model for the first year for G7. We plan to see revenue through 3 different streams, the first being a free tier user base where we'll receive money through ad revenue, the next being our subscription base where we'll charge $15 per month, and then lastly is our premium tier where that will be a coach's fee of $350 per session for one-on-one coaching. Next, we'll look at the cost model in the first year, a majority of which will go into the development cost. With a web-based product, there will be significant costs for developers between their salaried engineers and outsourced coders. The cost per user will be roughly 40% of our total cost. Next is the cost for coaches. 252 of that will go directly to the coaches. Lastly, because G7 is a nonprofit, the majority of the revenue will go to supporting the cost with a safety factor of 8% to account for yearly fluctuations. Next, let's look at the social value model for G7. Looking at this, it is important for us to be heavily involved with our communities through local small business association and community centers, as well as having a good relationship with our suppliers, our partners, and then lastly with our customers. The social value model for G7 is working in the communities and partnering with local small business associations to provide on-the-ground resources to those with financial education needs. Now let's look at the marketing channel model. We plan to use social and display ads, targeting blogs, and then search engine optimization to get our product out there. The projected cost of these marketing channels first are social and display ads. This is the most expensive and it involves websites such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Next is targeting blogs. This one's projected to be much more inexpensive because it is such a niche field that we'll be targeting through financial Redditors and bloggers. Then lastly is search engine optimization. This is between the two in projected cost, and this will just be associating our product with keyword searches such as financial coaching and financial literacy. For testing the viability of targeted ads, our hypothesis is that selecting content that overlaps or complements G7's offerings will provide the desired ad engagement. Luckily, there is plenty of pre-existing evidence, and our experiment designed to validate our specific ad model will be a short study inserting a targeted ad in 3 to 5 different categories of financial YouTube videos and compare the engagement results. For the design of experiment, all the marketing channels that we have chosen come with built-in analytics that can be checked to see our engagement from each area. Now we wanted to design and conduct a conjoint survey for the whole solution. The 6 attributes that we looked at are brand, online availability, ease of use, additional social impact, ending comprehension, and then price. When we looked at our brand compared against Pylon and Khan Academy, the brand attribute ranked the lowest in importance to our survey respondents. Next, we looked at online availability. This attribute ranked second in the highest level of importance to our survey respondents. The respondents favored online only, then hybrid, and in-person as least favorable. As for ease of use, this attribute ranked penultimate in the level of importance. However, we would still like to make sure that we provide thorough materials that will take the user step by step throughout the curriculum. For additional social impact, the data shows that customers don't particularly care what the company does as long as the company is doing something. Because of this, it would be best for our company to pick a social impact action that we are passionate about and follow through with actionable items. For ending comprehension, we looked at 3 different desired levels of understanding. First is a self-reliant financial ability. Next is an associate level of understanding, and then last is a mastery of topic. Based on these results, it would be best for G7 to build a curriculum around self-sufficient financial ability. Through these steps, we were able to validate the opportunity. We tested differential value of solution as well as testing the business model itself.
And it shows we have a viable business solution.
This is our ecosystem blueprint. As you can see, our solution goes towards these 2 partners, the NFEC website and the community centers and libraries. The biggest risk is shown in the red and the yellow. Obviously, the red is the bigger risk, yellow is the lesser risk. We'll be going over what these risks mean and how we are going to mitigate them. So first, there is the adoption chain risks. Now, there are two parts that are at risk due to potential adoption chain issues, as shown before. The first is through community centers and libraries. That is the major risk, the one that was highlighted in red. The major risk here is an adoption chain risk where these places will not pick up our service. As nonprofits, we are limited to what we can offer in exchange for these partners specifically. The second is a potential risk through our advertisers. This is a minor risk, which was highlighted in yellow, and it is that we will be unable to find advertisers to work with. The same goes for sponsors who would like to help fund our cause. Co-innovation risks. So in regards to co-innovation risks, our service currently does not have any. This is because what we do is something that can be done efficiently on current systems, so there are no co-innovation risks that are really in our ecosystem. As everything in our service's selling point relies on our price tag, we can bypass the need to rely on these innovations in the online learning field. However, in the future, if further innovations are made to improve online learning, we can invest in those at a future date. When this happens, we may then run into co-innovation risks at that time, and we can have mitigation strategies then, but at the moment, it is not imperative that we have mitigation for these co-innovation risks now. So, bringing it to mitigation and how we are going to mitigate. So, in terms of mitigation strategies, we do have a few. In regards to adoption risk from our local community partners, we need to offer them something worthwhile to mitigate this risk. As a nonprofit, we do not have much in terms of monetary value, but we have a lot in terms of social value. So we can use our social value as leverage to mitigate this particular risk. Our service can bring in foot traffic to the community centers or libraries and its surrounding areas. This means that this can help improve local communities, such as restaurants and any other stores basically in the area. As a nonprofit, we can devote any extra funds to improve these locations. So we can market ourselves as an investment to these partners. Having our service will also increase our partners' social value as well. What this means is that we can bring social value to these community centers, which improving their social value would overall increase their value in total. A more direct mitigation strategy for this adoption chain risk is to first focus on online-only learning. Our biggest selling point is a free-to-use library of information that can be accessed completely online. So while libraries and community centers do help us host this information, they're not technically required. They're not a required step, or they're not the lifeblood of our service. What this means is that even without this chain in the ecosystem, customers can still be satisfied with our service through online means. This would mitigate the damage done if this particular avenue, the adoption by community centers and libraries was to fall apart. So if we take the proper precautions to bolster our online learning, we can mitigate the damage altogether, right? From there, we can collect funds to help us convince these partners to host our service and show the benefits that we bring more directly. In regards to advertisers and the risk associated, we can still leverage our social value. Since we are a nonprofit, we can attract all types of customers, which can increase the amount of demographics, even psychographics that advertisers can have access to, right? So this can make us more appealing to advertisers of all sorts and help us avoid this risk. Our higher social value as a nonprofit will also help us look better to advertisers who may want to have their name attached to our products. This also doubles up for sponsors who may want to sponsor us and have their name attached to our social service, essentially. The direct mitigation strategy here is to also reach out to as many sponsors and advertisers as possible so we can cast a wide net. It would help us in the long run to not necessarily focus on advertisers in our field, but just up to anyone who is interested.
The profit generation model for G7 is to invest all of its profits back into the company. Its fixed costs are low compared to its income, making it resilient against market fluctuations and unforeseen events. The value to cost of G7 is very high as it has low cost and high value for its customers. Because G7 is a nonprofit, the goal is not necessarily to make money, but to create additional value for its users. G7's long-term impact has the goal to demystify personal finances for its users that do not have the access or the resources to develop the skills on their own. This model is highly scalable and applicable to several markets such as grade school coursework, community learning resources, and organizational benefits for its employees. Then lastly, the business value that G7 offers is the unique ability to combine a high-tech training program and grassroots community involvement that allows them to quickly reach a large market, then spread in each of the areas its premium customers become coaches in. Next, let's look at the value, cost, and price associated with G7's offering. Starting with the value, there are three main products that G7 offers. The first being the product itself, which is financial literacy for its users. Next, the pain reliever that G7 brings is infinitely available web-based training. And lastly, the game creator, and this is where G7 is unique against its competitors and other offerings, is the community involvement and utilization of local coaches. Looking at the cost associated with G7, G7 has extremely scalable content. That means that they can run extremely lean with only a few full-time employees and relatively low operating costs. And with its pyramid model that relies on its premium users becoming self-employed coaches, the cost associated with an additional customer only has a marginal increase in cost for G7. That means that as G7 adds additional customers, its profit will increase with the scalability. And then lastly, looking at the price of G7, because G7 is a nonprofit organization, it sets its price to maximize the value to its customers. The way that we set the price for this is to cover the operating expenses plus an 8% contingency for the company's year-over-year operating cost. Lastly, and most importantly, is the long-term value of G7. G7 set out to be more than a financial literacy company. They are dedicated to closing the wealth gap and making a generational impact in the lives of its customers and communities that it serves. The long-term value that G7 brings is the network of coaches and the ability to grow in a community as each premium member takes their knowledge and transmits it into the lives of the people in their communities. The growth plan for G7, as it takes footholds in communities around the country, is to embed itself into the school systems. As the training and education development strengthens, the program can easily be transformed into a high school course that solves the financial literacy gap upstream, allowing young adults to start their lives with the tools they need to assess student loan debt, housing options, and credit card dangers.